inside. Kill this shit. Homeboy exploded, I got my bag and they know it. She wanna pose for a photo, I don't want nothing to do with it. Got extended clips loaded, I keep my palm in the trunk. Keep that 30 on my hip, wait for the sound of the drum. Okay, there's a party on the rooftop. Bad hoe, give me top till the jaw out, yeah. And I put up in a drop top. Candy paint, black tints, that's a hot spot. There's a party on the rooftop, baby, I put up in a drop top. Candy paint, black tints, baby, there's a hot spot.
What's up, guys? I'm Landon from Shoeware, and today we're checking out the newly released Trae Young 1 Ice Trae. So thank you guys for stopping by to check us out. Feel free to give this video a like or drop a follow or subscribe wherever you're watching. We would greatly appreciate that. But now let's go ahead and quickly hit on the box and the price for these before we move on. So starting off with the box, these do kind of get a unique look. So on top, you're going to see some written text saying, always remember when they doubted you. And this kind of comes from Trae Young's underdog mentality, because a lot of people have kind of counted him out in the past. So I guess that's just sort of motivation to always kind of grind and work hard every day. So I definitely kind of like what that stands for. And then on the back, you're going to see that this is the first edition, since it's his first shoe line with Adidas. So I honestly was kind of surprised at how much they put into this box. There's definitely a lot more details on these. Like, you even got the Adidas logo and his player logo on the bottom. I was a little bit surprised about that compared to some of their other shoe lines. But for pricing, these are going to be a little bit more on the high end for a first signature shoe at $140. So it's going to be more than all four of their active signature athletes' first shoes would have been, such as like Derrick Rose, Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard, James Harden. But you know, these actually do have some pretty premium features that I'm going to get to in just a second, so that kind of supports the retail price. But that kind of covers the box and price for these, so let's move on. All right, so before we get into the materials and the performance side, let's go ahead and run down the appearance for these first. So this is Trae Young's first ever signature shoe with Adidas, and from the jump, it's already one of my favorites. So Trae Young is the point guard for the Atlanta Hawks, and if you've ever watched him play before, you may notice that like whenever he hits some big shots in key situations, like he did in this most recent NBA playoffs, he'll kind of pull out that like chilly celebration, and I just love it. You know, he plays with a ton of emotion, and I just think it's pretty fun to watch for me personally. So that is kind of where this colorway name comes from, and there's just like a ton of things on this model that I really do like. For the look on these shoes. So first, you're going to kind of have that icy polar bear show up on the back of these shoes, which is super clean. And I think that the light blue and red color scheme, it just goes really nicely on this Trae Young 1 model. There's a bunch of cool colorways out there too right now that are coming out. And then if you look at the insole, you're going to see the number 11 with some like kind of ice caps on the top. And that's actually his number on the Hawks. So you can kind of see that show up on one of the insoles. And then on the other insole, you're going to see his player logo with those same snow caps like kind of on the top of those. So that's a really cool look. And then to finish off with the upper, these have a really cool patch over those laces. It almost kind of reminds me of like that Jordan patch that you'd see on the Air Jordan 6 model. And then these are capped off with Trae Young's logo again on that tongue. And then just to reiterate, I do think that that's a pretty sick design for that Trae Young player logo. So if you couldn't tell, I am a pretty big fan of the overall appearance for these shoes. The heel is somewhat similar to like the Don Issue 2 model, while that midsole with those like where those 3 red stripes are, it sort of reminds me of like the Dame 7 wing that you'd see on the side of that upper. And then if you really use your imagination, it does kind of resemble that trefoil Adidas logo where those like 3 loops are on the midsole. So anyways, that finally does cover the appearance for these. So now let's go ahead and look at how these shoes hold up on the court. All right, so for the last half of this review, I'll cover the materials and the performance side of these shoes. So starting off with the cushioning, these are off to a great start for a first signature shoe. So you have a light strike setup that's displayed on that midsole that runs throughout the entire shoe. And that is going to be similar to a lot of Adidas shoe lines on the market right now. But as you can see labeled on these near the heel, they do feature some Adidas Boost cushioning and kind of like a hockey puck setup in the back half of that shoe. And I do have to say, you know, this is a really comfortable shoe in my opinion. I am definitely impressed, but for the $140 retail price, you know, they did put a little bit more into these compared to like Donovan Mitchell's and Damian Lillard's shoe lines. Both of those are kind of being on the cheaper side by a decent amount. But moving on to the upper, that is going to be where they cut the cost on these just a little bit, but that is where most shoes tend to do that. So you do have some pretty cheap textiles kind of covering these shoes in like a kind of a honeycomb setup, but there isn't a lot of give to them. So that is going to be good for like your lateral containment. So at least that part, you have to like that. And then similar to Kyrie Irving, I would expect Trae's shoes to kind of focus on keeping a locked-in feel going forward whenever he continues to make more, because, you know, he's always out there on the court making a bunch of rapid cuts and movements, so you got to be locked in. But it isn't all cheap on this upper, because if you look around in this light blue portion around that midsole, it kind of shows up on the heel as well. And then on the upside down kind of spiky white pieces on those eyelets, those are actually all going to be suede. So these do get a little bit of a premium touch there to hopefully pique your interest in these just a little bit more. I definitely do like those touches. And then now would be a good time to mention that these do come with a card that kind of states that these are part of that initiative to end plastic waste. So on there, it just says that 20% of this upper is going to be made up of at least 50% recycled material. So that's always nice to see that. And then kind of switching to the bottom of these and checking out the traction. The Trae Young one has actually the best of both worlds for that traction setup. So you're going to have that herringbone pattern that kind of covers the forefoot of these shoes, starting in the midsole, running all the way up to your toes. And that's going to give you some really great coverage. That is actually what a lot of different shoes across all different brands are rocking with right now. And then they even do give you a radial traction setup in the back half of that shoe for the outsole, which is one of the best designs that you can get as well. So they do have the best of both worlds for that traction, like I said. And it's definitely one of the major features for this Trae Young one. And then to finish off with sizing, you know, whenever it comes to Adidas, you never really know what you're going to get. But this actually is a pretty true to size fit. It isn't snug or anything like that, so you do have a little bit of room to move around in there, but definitely keep in mind that the tongue is like directly built into that shoe, so there isn't a lot of stretch to them to kind of help get you into that shoe, but once you get your foot in there, you are definitely locked in. So overall, this is a great start to a shoe line. I love the appearance. They have a lot to build off of going forward, and the cushioning is way above par, and so is the traction. So even with the slightly higher retail tag for Adidas at $140, I'd say that these are definitely worth your money. All right, so that pretty much wraps up our unboxing and performance review on the Adidas Trae Young 1 Ice Trae. Thank you guys for taking some time to watch. If you're interested in purchasing these shoes, check out the links in the description below. And then also be sure to click the link in our bio. And from there, you can find our shoes that are available for sale on our website. And you can also head over to our social media just to kind of stay informed on upcoming sneaker releases. And then last, just feel free to leave a comment below if you like these shoes, or just feel free to let us know any other shoes you want us to check out next. But until next review, I'm Landon from Shoeware. Peace.